Warriors hum, the future's near. Through the code, the path is clear. Shield the world, protect the streams. Cyber warriors, chase your dreams. Code your dreams and light the way. Guard the data night and day. AxxessPros will lead you through cyber paths for me and you. Digital gates where secrets hide. Hack the limits from inside. Every key unlocks a chance. Cyber skills will make you dance. Code your dreams and light the way. Guard the data night and day. AxxessPros will lead you through cyber paths for me and you. Pixels spark like stars in flight. Build the fire, ignite the night. Cyber dreams are yours to seize. Be the shield in bytes and keys. Code your dreams and light the way. Guard the data night and day. AxxessPros will lead you through cyber paths for me and you. Code your dreams and light the way. Guard the data night and day. AxxessPros will lead you through cyber paths for me and you.
For new to the field, or for those who are in the field looking to explore options as far as maybe even getting jobs. So I'm going to play this video as part of that. So let's spend some time and kind of listen to this video, and we can circle back after the video to have a discussion.
So you're thinking about a career change, right? Looking for a field that's not just growing, but absolutely exploding? Well, you've come to the right place.
Sorry about that. What happened there? Did someone take over my screen?
We're about to lay out a really clear, actionable blueprint for you to make the leap into the wild, exciting world of cybersecurity. Let's get right into it. First things first, I want you to just look at this number, 4 million. Let that sink in for a second. Now, that isn't just some random number. That's how many unfilled cybersecurity jobs there are right now across the globe. It's not just a statistic, it's a huge, flashing neon sign that screams opportunity for anyone looking to make a move. And the momentum? It's just staggering. I mean, check this out. Projections show that jobs for infosecurity analysts.
Sorry about that. Every time I admit someone into the room.
Are set to grow by 29% over the next decade. To put that in perspective, the average for all other jobs is just 3%. That means this field is growing almost 10 times faster than everything else. The demand is, frankly, undeniable. Okay, so we know the need is there, but the big question is, where do you fit in? You might be thinking cybersecurity is just for hardcore coders and dark rooms, but trust me, the field is so much more diverse than that. Let's break down the two main paths you can actually take. The whole field really splits into two main lanes. You've got the technical path. These are your digital first responders. They're the security analysts and engineers on the front lines, hands-on, defending the systems. But then you have the non-technical path, which is way more strategic. These are the folks who focus on what's called GRC. That's governance, risk, and compliance, making sure all the policies and defenses are solid from a big picture perspective. And let me be clear, both of these roles are absolutely critical. And here's a perfect example of how skills you already have can translate. Let's say you come from a legal background. All that expertise in regulatory research, that's a direct bridge to a high-demand GRC analyst role. You'd be using that exact same analytical brain to make sure a company is complying with complex stuff like Europe's GDPR. It's such a natural and really valuable transition. Okay, so you've kind of found a path that sounds interesting. Now what? How do you prove you've got the skills, especially if you don't have a classic tech degree? Well, the answer lies in what I like to call your certification launchpad. And look, these aren't just fancy lines you stick on your resume. For anyone changing careers, certifications are probably the single most powerful tool in your toolbox. They are proof. They tell hiring managers loud and clear that you have the knowledge to actually do the job. So where do you even start? Well, for pretty much anyone breaking into the field, the CompTIA Security Plus is your launchpad. It covers all the fundamentals you need for those entry-level jobs. Now, as you grow, the CISSP is like the global gold standard for leadership roles. And for you folks on that non-technical path, the CSI is basically the auditor's Bible. Each one of these marks a really clear, powerful step up in your career. Proving your skills is one thing, but let's be real. The money matters, right? So let's shift gears and talk about the economics of it all, because the financial rewards in cybersecurity are, well, they're pretty robust. $124,910. That was the median annual pay for an information security analyst back in May of 2024. And just to put that into context, it is nearly double the average salary across all jobs in the country. That tells you just how much value the market is putting on these skills. And your earning potential just keeps climbing from there. As you get more experience, your salary goes up and up. You know, you might start in that $65,000 to $80,000 range, but once you hit those mid-level and senior roles, you are looking at salaries well north of $130,000. So what pushes those numbers even higher? Well, specialization is a huge one. If you focus on hot areas like cloud security or DevSecOps, you're going to command a premium. Those advanced certifications, they add a serious boost. And yeah, of course, where you live and what industry you're in matters. Major tech hubs and the finance sector tend to pay top dollar. All right, let's talk about the future, because I know there's a huge question on everybody's mind right now: artificial intelligence. Is AI just going to come in and automate all these jobs away? Let's tackle that head on and talk about how you build a truly future-proof career. The truth is, AI is here to augment, not replace. Think of it as your new superpowered teammate. It's going to handle all the repetitive grunt work like sifting through endless logs and triaging alerts. And that frees up you, the human professional, to lead the really complex, strategic stuff, the creative threat hunting and high-level incident response that requires actual critical thinking. For long-term success, if you remember one thing, it's this. Once you get your foot in the door, the future is all about specialization. Zeroing in on high-growth areas like DevSecOps, the Internet of Things, or threat intelligence, that's how you stay ahead of the curve and make yourself indispensable. Okay, let's pull all of this together into one final actionable roadmap: your game plan. Step 1, build your foundation. Get comfortable with Linux, networking, and some basic Python. Step 2, get certified. Start with that CompTIA Security Plus. Step 3, get your hands dirty. Prioritize labs, personal projects, maybe even an internship. Step 4, once you're in, specialize for that long-term growth. And finally, step 5, never ever stop learning. This field is always changing, and honestly, that's what makes it so much fun. So the demand is there. The opportunity is absolutely massive. And the path forward is clear. The digital world needs defenders. So the only real question left is, are you ready?
All right, cool. I think that was a quick 6 minutes, high level, um, uh, you know, overview right, of cybersecurity as a field. And I see some of you in the chat here sharing some thoughts. I see someone here who has spent about 25 years in IT and back engineering, the last 8 years as a CTO of a startup, working on Security Plus certification and CISSP certification. I think that's a good thing. And truly, what I've also done is spend some time and really break this down. So I put together this blog post on the different career paths in cybersecurity. Let me share that with the team here. I'll also drop that in the chat quickly. Why is my Give me a second here while this launches. It's taking quite a while. I'm not sure why. Okay. So I'm going to drop this in the chat. I have this blog that I've written, I kind of wrote today that kind of walks you through the cybersecurity field, the different types of certification, the demand. This is kind of really backed with statistics as well. Um, the technical, non-technical paths, the different pathways from your SOC analyst to pen tester to security engineer. I mean, depends on what type of skill you have, your background, and what you're actually interested in doing. You know, um, the non-technical roles as well as GRC, security awareness training, compliance analyst. I see that someone here actually has a background in psychology and which kind of restores human behavior, right? There's a demand for folks that have strong understanding of human factors in cybersecurity. So when it comes to training, security awareness training, understanding cybersecurity safety or cyber physical types of domains, there's demand for folks. Well, I have your type of experience in that field as well. Right. Also, there's a career path for cyber threat intelligence where you go gather data, you analyze the data, and use that information to inform senior management of the different types of threats that seem to be targeting a particular type of industry or a particular type of company. And that all that information gets fed into the SOC team so they are aware, more like situation aware of the different threats facing their industry. Obviously, also we have leadership roles. To get to this kind of roles, obviously you require that at least you need to have years of experience. You need to have done some basic certification, and you need to be able to speak and translate technical terms into business speak, because you'll be communicating a lot with executives in those roles. So to the extent you have experience communicating with executives and you have some basic cyber knowledge and have a good understanding of risk, that those kind of roles should be attractive to you. What else? So yeah, so from a high level, here's kind of the career ladder, So you start out with your security plus, then you further advance to the CISSP role, right? Anyway, yeah, so in terms of the kind of target audience, depending on where you are in that career trajectory or career curve, if you're entry level, you should explore the CompTIA Security Plus. Here, kind of skills that gets validated. Here are some of the requirements, and it provides you that launch of points, right? To begin to break into the field. Then you can probably take this CISSP next. That helps you move more towards your mid-level roles. And again, if you want to pursue a career more so as a non-technical cybersecurity specialist, the Issachar CSER is a good one, right? With that role or with that certification, you can function as a GRC person, compliance manager, security assessor, IT auditor. So and then in fact, requirements for those roles or opportunity for those roles continues to expand. Um, and the kind of economics, right? In terms of compensation, you can see some of that on there. Location, AI, implication of cybersecurity is shaping the industry. But as you saw in the presentation earlier, it's kind of augmenting, right? Making the job of cybersecurity specialist much easier, including reducing manual tasks and automating, streamlining processes within cybersecurity. obviously, naturally, it could be a catalyst as well, not necessarily replacing humans, but in fact making them more efficient and more productive. And he has some specialized role. One of the leading roles in cybersecurity, obviously, it's kind of cloud security. In fact, in addition to cloud security, you now see that intersection between cloud security and AI security because most AI models or AI compute is deployed in the cloud. When you look at the major hyperscalers from Google to Microsoft to Amazon, they kind of also know all their AI technologies in the cloud at their own data center. So to be able to protect those workloads for each company, you will need to have a combination of cloud skills as well as AI skills, right? So I'm going to drop this in the chat for anyone that's interested. You can also, delve into the references to glean more insight, right? So that's that for carriers and cybersecurity. Any question before we move on to the next topic we're going to cover today? Any questions before we move to the next topic? Any questions?
Um, this is Kieran. Hello, everybody. Thanks, AxxessPros, for doing this. I missed the first 10 minutes, so maybe if you could give a quick overview of AxxessPros, maybe at the end again for
Yeah,
people.
sure. We can
Yeah.
do that again. In fact, for the first 6 minutes, we didn't do much. We just waiting for everyone to
Okay.
arrive and settle in. So I don't think you missed much. But either way, yeah, we can also recap.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. So following that, I want us to move on to this other topic. Some of the interesting areas in cybersecurity for anyone looking to explore that field. I think this is important just for kind of talking points to show that you're kind of plugged in. So I'm going to play that here. I think it goes for about 60.
All right, let's get right into it. For the longest time, the idea of AI and warfare felt like something straight out of science fiction. Well, not anymore. AI has officially landed on the digital battlefield, and the crazy part is it's playing for both teams. It's become both a devastating weapon and an indispensable shield. So that really brings us to the core question here. Is AI our friend or our foe in this fight? The answer, as you've probably guessed, is it's both. And that duality is kicking off a whole new kind of arms race, one that's being fought at a speed and scale we've just never seen before. To really wrap your head around this, we have to start by looking at the dark side. Let's dig into how cybercriminals are weaponizing AI to launch attacks that are scarily smart, incredibly fast, and way more convincing than anything that's come before. You know, remember the classic advice for spotting a phishing email? Just look for the typos or check for bad grammar. For years, that was a pretty solid way to catch a fake. Well, you can take that piece of advice and just toss it right out the window. And here's why that old advice is useless now. AI can write absolutely flawless phishing emails. They're not just grammatically perfect. They're personalized, they're context-aware, and they are so believable that their click-through rates are just through the roof. The entire game has been completely upended. But we're talking about so much more than just perfect emails. Attackers have a whole new AI-powered toolkit. They can create deepfake audio and video that is terrifyingly convincing. I mean, imagine getting a video call from your boss asking for an urgent money transfer, and it looks and sounds exactly like them. On top of that, we're seeing malware that can literally change its own code to avoid being caught, and even fully autonomous AI agents that can run an entire attack from start to finish with almost no human guidance. You want to know the scariest part of all this? It's the speed. An attack that used to take a team of skilled hackers weeks, maybe even months to pull off, from the first breach to actually stealing the data, an AI can now do that same job in just a few minutes. That window is so small, it's practically impossible for human defenders to even notice, let alone react in time. Okay? But it is not all doom and gloom. Thankfully, the good guys are fighting fire with fire. So let's flip the script and look at how cybersecurity pros are using this exact same technology to forge a new kind of digital shield, one that operates at the speed of machines. So the secret weapon for the defense is this huge shift in strategy called anomaly detection. See, the old way was to keep a list of known viruses, like a wanted list. This is totally different. Instead, the AI spends time learning the unique rhythm of a network, what's normal for that specific company, and then it just watches for anything that breaks that pattern. How it works is actually pretty straightforward. First, the AI builds that baseline of what normal looks like. Step 2, it monitors everything in real time for any weird deviations. Like an employee logging in from a strange country at 3 a.m. or a server that never sends out data suddenly trying to upload a massive file. And finally, the moment it spots something, it instantly flags it and can even trigger an automatic response, like locking down an account before a human being even gets the alert. Now, this whole defensive system is powered by a new lineup of AI technologies. You could think of MDR as your 24/7 security guard, an AI that never sleeps and is always hunting for threats. XDR is like the master detective, pulling together clues from all over the place to see the big picture. And SOAR is the first responder, the system that automates the lockdown and cuts the reaction time from hours down to just seconds. So what you have here is AI-powered attacks on one side and AI-powered defenses on the other. This is the definition of a modern arms race. It's this constant back-and-forth cycle where every new offensive trick forces the defense to get smarter and every new defense forces the offense to get more creative. And this really gets to the heart of the paradigm shift. We've moved from being reactive, cleaning up a mess after it happens, to being predictive, stopping the attack before it can do damage. We've gone from looking for known signatures to analyzing behavior. But the biggest leap, by far, is the jump from human speed to machine speed. We're now in an era where the pace of the battle is set by algorithms, not people. And that's really the whole point. In this new world, just keeping up isn't enough to survive. It's a relentless race to get ahead, to use your AI to predict what the other side's AI is going to do next. The only way to stay in the game is to constantly innovate. So where does this leave us? What's the new reality we're all facing? It really all boils down to one single incredibly important takeaway. And here it is, the most critical point of all. For any organization today, AI and cybersecurity is not a nice to have. It's not optional. It is the absolute baseline for survival. Trying to defend a network without it is like showing up to a modern battlefield with weapons from 100 years ago. You will be outmaneuvered, you'll be outpaced, and you will lose. Which leaves us with one last, kind of provocative thought to chew on. Right now, AI is an amazing tool that makes human security experts way better at their jobs. But as the AI on both the attacking side and the defending side get exponentially smarter, faster, and more autonomous, you have to ask, is a day coming when human defenders simply can't keep up with a war being fought entirely between machines? Is definitely something to think about.
All right. Cool. So as you see on here, it's definitely transforming the field of cybersecurity in a very meaningful way. It has to, also because the threat actors are in fact leveraging AI to cause attacks or perform malicious activities, and defenders in this situation also has to take some action and leverage tools and systems and technology to also protect themselves. And we can see the application of AI in at least in multiple domains beyond just your MDRs or XDRs or your SOAR applications. You can see its application, in fact, in the non-technical field as well, to help you, in fact, comply with regulations. So I just like kind of really share some insights in this field in terms of the application of AI in this domain. So to the extent you want to explore a particular domain in cybersecurity, obviously you can now begin to see how AI definitely applies in that domain. Before we go to the next presentation here, all right, anyone has any thoughts on this, or should we move on to the next one? All right, let's move on to the next one. We're going to talk about ransomware here.
When you think of ransomware, you probably picture some lone hacker in a dark room, a sort of digital mugging. But that picture, it's completely out of date. What started as a simple, malicious hack has exploded into a full-blown, professional, and frankly, a terrifyingly efficient global industry. So how on earth did we get here, and how does this whole thing even work? Get this. $265 billion. That's not a typo. That's the projected annual cost of damages from ransomware by 2031. This isn't just a tech problem anymore. It's a massive economy, all built on extortion and powered by a business model that is, as you're about to see, shockingly familiar. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to break down exactly how this criminal enterprise functions. First, we'll get into this whole as-a-service model. Then, we'll take a peek inside the corporate structure of these cybercrime groups. We'll trace how their extortion tactics have evolved, lay out a playbook for how to defend yourself, and finally, we'll talk about what this all means for the future of cyber leverage. Okay, let's dive right in. We have to start with the core concept that changed everything. The idea that crime itself could be packaged, marketed, and sold just like any legitimate software product. And this is it, Ransomware as a Service, or RaaS. Think of it like a subscription service, but for crime. It's a business model running on the dark web where really skilled developers create and maintain incredibly sophisticated ransomware, and then they just lease it out. What this does is, well, it completely demolishes the barrier to entry. You don't have to be some coding genius to launch a crippling attack anymore. You just need to be a customer. But here's the thing, it's not just about renting a malicious tool. When you get involved with RaaS, you're essentially joining an organization, one that mirrors a legit tech company in some pretty wild and surprising ways. I mean, just look at this comparison for a second. On the left, you've got software as a service, SaaS. We all use it. Think Salesforce, Microsoft 365. On the right, RaaS. The structure, the business model, it's identical. Developers create a product and they lease access to it. The only real difference is that one helps legitimate businesses grow and the other helps criminals tear them down. So inside these groups, you've got this really clear division of labor. First, you have the developers. These are the masterminds, the ones who build and constantly update the ransomware itself, and they even create these slick, user-friendly dashboards for their customers. And then you have the affiliates. You can think of them as the sales force, the boots on the ground. They're the ones responsible for the dirty work of actually breaking into networks. And this is what makes the whole thing spin. It's all about the money, right? In the most common setup, the affiliates, the ones taking all the risk, get to keep the vast majority of the ransom payment. We're talking 80, sometimes even 90%. That creates this massive, powerful incentive to be aggressive, to find bigger targets, and to cause more damage. And the level of professionalism here, it's honestly mind-blowing. These aren't just small-time crooks. Many of these groups have 24/7 technical support for their affiliates. They run private forums to share attack techniques, and they even run marketing campaigns to recruit new criminals into their network. This is enterprise-grade crime. Okay, so the business model got scarily professional, but that's not all that's changed. The way these groups actually force a victim to pay up has become progressively more ruthless and a lot more complex. This didn't just happen overnight. Let's walk through it. First, you had what you might call ransomware 1.0. Super simple. They locked your files and you paid for the key to get them back. Then they upped the ante with 2.0, double extortion. Now, before they encrypted anything, they would quietly steal all your most sensitive data and threaten to leak it online. Suddenly, having backups wasn't enough. And today, we're in the era of 3.0, or triple extortion. On top of everything else, they might hit you with a DDoS attack to knock you offline, or even start calling your customers and partners directly to create maximum chaos and pressure. So what makes this latest wave so incredibly dangerous? Well, just look around. Our whole world is basically one giant attack surface now. With remote work, cloud everything, and all those IoT devices, there are just more doors for criminals to knock on. They're getting smarter too, attacking supply chains, hit one company to get to all of its clients. And here's the really scary part. They're not afraid to go after critical infrastructure. We're talking hospitals, pipelines, schools, places where any disruption can have devastating real-world consequences. All right, that's the bad news. It's a huge, sophisticated threat, and it's serious. But, and this is a big but, you are not helpless here. So let's flip this around and talk about how you actually fight back. Look, if you only do one thing, make it this. The absolute cornerstone of your defense is a rock-solid backup strategy. The gold standard here is called the 3-2-1 rule, and it's pretty simple. Keep 3 copies of your critical data on 2 different types of storage media, with at least one of those copies stored completely offsite and, crucially, offline, where an attacker can't possibly touch it. But with these modern extortion tactics, backups aren't a silver bullet. You need layers, a defense-in-depth strategy. That means things like zero trust, where you assume attackers are already inside and you limit their ability to move around. It means using strong, phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. It means having modern security tools to detect threats and breaking up your network so a fire in one room doesn't burn down the whole house. And of course, you absolutely have to have a plan for what to do before you get hit. But, after all the fancy tech and millions in security budgets, this whole problem often boils down to one thing: people. A single accidental click on a malicious email can bypass the most expensive defenses in the world. And that's why your employees are both your biggest vulnerability and your single most important line of defense. Consistent, engaging training isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely non-negotiable. So, where does all of this leave us? What's the big takeaway here? Well, the rise of the RaaS economy has forced a fundamental shift in how we have to think about this threat. It's changed the entire game. And that brings us to the absolute core of it, the bottom line. Modern ransomware attacks are not just about locking up your files anymore. The real goal is to find your organization's greatest point of pain. It's to find leverage. Maybe that's threatening to leak customer data, or maybe it's shutting down your factory floor during your busiest season. Whatever it is, they will find it and use it to force you to pay. So I want to leave you with this one question to really think about. If an attacker's number one goal is to find that unique point of maximum pressure for your organization, do you know what it is? Is it your intellectual property, your operational uptime, your reputation? Because if you don't know the answer to that question, you can bet the criminals are already working hard to figure it out.
All right. Any questions on that? I mean, this is about ransomware as a service. It's actually one of the larger attack vectors in cybersecurity today. It's also, at least for those who are not aware, ransomware is essentially where a threat actor is able to encrypt your file and essentially puts a gun on your head and forcing you to actually pay up to recover the files. But obviously, as you've seen here, the whole practice of ransomware has evolved over time from 1.0 to 2.0, which is now double extortion. Not only will they threat actors encrypt your file, but they steal the information, encrypt the file to kind of continue to put pressure on you or to continue to lever up so they can actually get some type of extortion from you. And that industry is booming right now. And that's why you need a layered form of defense in cybersecurity. Oh, by the way, that's the reason why you have need for cybersecurity professionals that can think strategically and help you build the different layers of defense to put you in a position to at least reduce the risk. At the end of the day, the field is about risk mitigation. There isn't an absolute silver bullet to, in fact, prevent threat actors from breaking in. Because, no, let's face it, the threat actor actually has an easy job because you have this way very large corporations have been part of very large organizations that have over, for example, 50,000 endpoints, essentially about 50,000 employees. And you have to protect all those endpoints. Bear in mind that those endpoints are also being manned by individuals, where individuals that can actually make mistakes. So when you think about human psychology, there's always going to be slips, trips, and falls. There's always going to be mistakes. If one of those employees clicks on a phishing email, that becomes an open hole where the threat actors can actually exploit and gain increasing access within the organization. So, as a cybersecurity professional, you're in this dilemma where you have to protect all endpoints, but the threat actor really only has to exploit one. So, and to really be able to reduce that risk, you have to apply layered defense from zero trust to backups to, extended detection and response, to the SIM solution, and then a slew of other, to multi-factor authentication, a slew of other types of controls that helps mitigate the risks of ransomware. So hopefully that's kind of makes sense to all of you. So let's talk about cloud security. It's a growing field as well in cybersecurity, and we'll come back
So
again.
let's talk about two of the absolute biggest headaches in the cloud world: trying to control your spending and trying to keep everything secure. Now, for the longest time, we've treated these as completely separate problems, fought by totally different teams. But what if they're not separate at all? What if they're actually two sides of the very same coin? And this is really the big question every single company using the cloud has to face. I mean, we all jumped in for that incredible power and speed, right? But with all that power comes a ton of responsibility. Are we actually managing it well? Or are we just letting the complexity run wild, creating new security holes and, just burning through cash? And that really gets to the heart of it. The cloud is this classic double-edged sword. On one side, you have this incredible, almost limitless potential, but on the other, there's some very real danger. I mean, this just lays it out perfectly. The promise of the cloud, it's undeniable. We can build things and get them to market faster than we ever thought possible. But the peril is just as real. Every new service we spin up, every new virtual machine, it's another line item on the bill and potentially another open door for an attacker. So where do things usually go wrong? Well, because the cloud moves so fast, it's really easy to make simple mistakes. We see things like misconfigured storage buckets all the time, just leaving sensitive data sitting out there for anyone to find. Or you've got accounts with way more permissions than they need. That's kind of like leaving the master key to your entire building just lying on the front desk. And then there's shadow IT, where teams just start using new tools without telling anyone, creating all these security blind spots you didn't even know you had. So to handle all this, what did we do? Well, typically, organizations built two completely separate specialized teams. You can think of them as two armies fighting on the same battlefield, but they're often using different maps and have totally different orders. Let's break them down. Okay, first up, you've got your cloud security team. Their entire world, everything they do, is about one thing: risk. They're the guardians at the gate. They're constantly scanning for weaknesses, closing gaps, and making sure the company's data and its reputation are safe. Their number one job is, and always will be, to reduce risk. And then, over on the other side of the building, you've got the FinOps team. They're looking at the exact same cloud environment, but they're wearing a totally different set of glasses. Financial ones. Their mission is to hunt down waste, to optimize every penny of cloud spend, and to make sure the company is getting real value for its money. Their goal is cost optimization. You see the disconnect, right? Two teams, two very different definitions of success. But here is the big aha moment. This is the realization that is completely changing how smart companies are thinking about their cloud strategy. What if these two separate missions, risk reduction and cost optimization, were actually just different ways of looking at the exact same problem? And this just says it all, doesn't it? The work you do to clean up your cloud spending and make it more efficient, it often makes you more secure by default. And the work you do to lock down your security, well, that can lead to some massive cost savings. They aren't separate goals that you have to trade off. They are deeply connected. And this is where it gets really practical. Okay, think about asset visibility. Your security team can't protect what it doesn't even know exists. And your FinOps team, they can't optimize the cost of resources they can't even see. The same exact inventory serves both missions. Or how about this one? Shutting down idle servers. For the security team, that shrinks the attack surface. For the FinOps team, that directly cuts wasted spending. It is a true win-win, right down the line. And here's the thing, this is so much bigger than just a clever technical strategy. When you get these two teams working together, you suddenly create this incredibly powerful business case that leaders all the way up to the boardroom can actually understand. Just think about it for a second. Your Chief Information Security Officer, your CISO, their job is to go to the board and talk about managing risk. Your Chief Financial Officer, the CFO, they talk about return on investment. By linking a security project directly to cost savings, they can finally speak the same language. Suddenly, security isn't just a cost center anymore. It's a key part of making the whole operation more efficient. Here's a perfect real-world example of that value chain. Okay, let's say a company decides to consolidate all its messy, sprawling cloud workloads into a more streamlined setup. Just by doing that one decision, they inherently make the attack surface smaller, giving the security team less to worry about, and at the exact same time, it directly slashes their cloud operating costs. One move, two massive wins. But let's be real, this isn't easy. You're fighting against years of habit. The biggest problems are almost always organizational. I mean, your security, finance, and engineering teams have been working in their own little worlds for ages. Getting them to talk to each other takes real effort. It takes finding tools that can give everyone that single unified view, and maybe most importantly, it takes getting leaders at the top to really champion this as one single strategy, not two separate things. But make no mistake, getting over these hurdles, it's not just a nice to have anymore. The entire future of building a sustainable, a secure, and an innovative strategy in the cloud absolutely depends on this alliance. And if you need proof, just look at the numbers. They're actually stunning. Gartner is predicting that by 2027, companies that actually pull this off, that combine FinOps and security, will see a drop in security incidents of 40%, a 40% reduction. And that's just the security side. The financial win for those exact same companies, we're talking millions of dollars in savings. This isn't a choice between being secure or being cost-effective anymore. This is proof that better security is better financial management. They go hand in hand. So we'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. In your company, your security and finance teams, I'm sure they're talking, but are they just coexisting in the same building, or are they actually collaborating? Are they building a safer, more efficient, and more innovative future together? Because honestly, the answer to that question could define your success in the cloud for years to come.
All right. Any thoughts on this? Anyone has experience with cloud security and maybe FinOps as well? Yeah.
I would like to understand, will you be sharing these slides and this notebook LLM? Seems like there is a lot of subtle points that, I mean, I can take a note fast enough to note down everything.
Okay, when I'm gonna share the video. Yeah, I could share the video. That's fine. Just send me an email if you don't get it after, well, within 2, 3 days. Usually I send it out after 2, 3 days following the presentation itself. All right.
Right. What about the notebook LLM script that will you share that
Yeah,
out?
well, that's is my own proprietary notebook. It's non-public at this point, but
Yes.
either way, you still get the content right on the recording, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool, cool. Hopefully you guys are getting a lot of value. This is a growing space. I've lived through this as well. Working for an organization that has over 50,000 employees and also accelerating to the cloud. I've helped many companies, accelerate their cloud deployment as part of their cloud governance team or cloud governance center of excellence. What tends to happen here is that many companies are moving very quickly, very fast into the cloud. They want to deploy. They want to accelerate growth. They're trying to give autonomy to different teams to move to the cloud. But while doing that, they forget the need for guardrails. And, it turns out that after the fact, they start, thinking about security. Well, that's at the point where, at some point, they've been probably hit by an attack vector of some sort, or they've had instances where they've suffered a breach, where security is now more so reactionary than being, than taking kind of the, a design element or a design component of the build out in itself. So, but the interesting thing here is that you now begin to see the cloud teams now working on the FinOps team questioning whether resource should exist or not, or whether it's just an attack vector or an attack surface that needs to be kind of winded down. So, I mean, as you move, on with your careers, as you think about cloud security, I think it's also important that you ask questions about, the FinOps strategy. Are you able to improve security while reducing costs? You're going to get a lot of buy-in from the CFO, mostly because it really touches on that whole idea around return on investment, right? All right, cool. I think we have another one for this evening. Let me get into that quickly here. Zero trust is a part of cybersecurity that we all need to know. So I'm just going to play it. I think it's going to run for about 5 minutes. Then we'll wrap things up.
You've probably heard the term zero trust floating around a lot lately. It's one of those buzzwords that seems to be everywhere, but it's actually a huge, fundamental shift in digital security. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify what it really means, and more importantly, why it matters so much right now. Okay, let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of it all. For years, we've thought about security like building a wall to keep bad guys out. But what if the whole game has changed? What if the real danger is already inside your network? To really get why zero trust is such a game changer, you first have to understand what it's replacing. For the longest time, cybersecurity was all built around this idea of a digital fortress. But as you're about to see, the walls of that fortress are completely crumbling. This slide, this tells the whole story. On the left, that's the old way of thinking, the castle and moat. Simple, right? If you made it past the guards and you are inside the castle walls, you are trusted. But look at the new reality. There is no wall anymore. There's no clear perimeter. So the new rule is simple and it's kind of brutal. Trust no one. We've gone from defending a single boundary to defending every single resource. So why is that old model so broken? Well, just look at how we work now. The perimeter has vanished because we're all working remotely. Our data isn't in one place anymore. It's spread out across different clouds like AWS and Azure. We're logging in from phones, tablets, laptops, you name it. And maybe most importantly, attackers are smarter. They're not just trying to break down the front door. They're stealing a key, your login credentials, and just walking right in. All right, so if the fortress is toast, what do? We can't just leave the gates wide open, right? Well, this is exactly where the zero trust philosophy comes in. It's a completely different way of looking at the problem. And here it is. This is the mantra. If you remember one single thing from this entire explainer, let it be these 4 words. This is the heart and soul of the whole strategy. Never trust, always verify. That simple mantra is the foundation for what's officially called a zero trust architecture, or ZTA. It's basically a security framework where nobody, and I mean nobody, gets a free pass just for being on the network. Every single request to access anything has to be checked and checked again, every single time. Now, that might still sound a little abstract, so here's a fantastic analogy to make it click. In the old castle model, getting on the network was like being handed the master key to the entire building. You could go anywhere. With zero trust, nope. It's like you're given a temporary key card that only opens the one specific room you need, and only for the 5 minutes you need to be in there. The second you're done, that access is gone. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the how. How does this whole continuous verification thing actually work in the real world? You gotta remember, zero trust isn't some magic box you just plug in. It's a whole strategy, and it's built on these core pillars. It starts with identity, proving you are who you say you are, with things like multi-factor authentication. Then it checks that the device you're using is secure and healthy. It gives you the absolute least amount of access you need to do your job, and nothing more. It also puts up tiny firewalls inside the network to stop an attacker from moving around. And, of course, it's constantly monitoring everything for anything that looks weird. Now, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But let's be real. Implementing a strategy this comprehensive is a huge undertaking. So it's super important to look at both sides of the coin here, the incredible benefits it brings, and the very real hurdles organizations are going to face trying to get there. Let's start with the payoff, because honestly, it is massive. Zero trust shrinks the number of things an attacker can even try to hit. And if an employee's account does get compromised from, say, a phishing email, the damage is contained. The attacker is stuck in a tiny box. They can't move laterally across the network to find the important stuff. This makes it pretty much the perfect model for how we all work today, from anywhere, on any device. But here's the reality check. This isn't easy. Just figuring out what all your digital assets even are can be wildly complex. A lot of older legacy systems just don't play nicely with these new tools. It also takes a real cultural shift, getting employees used to verifying who they are more often. And maybe the most crucial point is that you can't just go out and buy zero trust. It's a long-term strategy, not a quick fix product. So yeah, there are challenges, for sure. But despite all of that, the verdict is pretty much in. Zero trust isn't just a passing fad or a cool trend. It is, quite simply, the future of security. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the numbers. This data from Gartner is pretty stunning. Back in 2021, only about 10% of organizations had really embraced zero trust. By 2025, that's projected to shoot up to 60%. That's not just growth, that's a full-blown revolution in the industry. And this shift is being taken seriously at the highest levels. It's not just companies trying to get a competitive edge. You've got governments, like the US federal government, straight up mandating zero trust across all their agencies. When national security is on the line, this is seen as a non-negotiable, necessary evolution. So we'll end with this one final thought, bringing us right back to the beginning. For decades, we built our digital security on a foundation of trust. But in our modern world, where there's no perimeter and the lines are all blurred, we have to ask a really tough question. Has the very idea of trust become our single biggest vulnerability? Zero Trust argues that the answer is a hard yes.
Yeah. So, I think that last quote or statement is so powerful. Um, Especially in a world where there's no longer any perimeter per se, where everyone's working, well, mostly work from home this day. Not mostly, but majority of people work from home these days. And there's essentially no boundary, and the need for zero trust, right? Because threat actors can always exploit that assumed trust that companies usually have for their users. So zero trust just makes it more difficult for threat actors to exploit company networks by causing a higher degree of resistance. In other words, never assume trust, or threat actors cannot, you know, essentially play on that assumed trust that companies usually have for devices within their network. There's this whole need for that continuous validation, the need for you to always show your badge all the time before you're granted access into a company building. And there's this whole idea around making sure you're checking for device posture to see whether the additional vulnerabilities there, segmentation, making it more difficult for lateral movement. Some of those concepts might be foreign to some of you, but if you're going to be looking to explore a potential career in cybersecurity, there's a concept you really need to know. All right, cool. Any questions, any thoughts before we proceed? Questions, thoughts?
Just out of curiosity, what percentage of the SOCs have adopted zero trust architecture?
Yeah, and honestly, it's a very small percentage. And the way to kind of think about it is like to think of it more from a long-term perspective, right? Many companies actually have, major legacy devices. Some of those devices are kind of on-prem. Some of those devices are very fragile, especially for me. Many of my clients are also on the old side of the business, where some of the devices are still running on Windows 2008. They can patch it, they can update it. It doesn't work with zero trust. So to answer your question, I really think about maybe 20%, well, maybe between 10 and 20%. Many of them still looking at zero trust muscle from a long-term perspective. So you have this long-term strategy. Over the next 5 years, we're going to try to implement varying degrees of zero trust. It's not just one thing. It is multi-factor authentication. It is making sure we are deploying essentially posture tools on different devices. In other words, your XDRs, your MDRs, we tell the health of every device. We're also making sure we are, in fact, segmenting our network. That segmentation is very complex, especially in a very hybrid network. So it's not just one thing. It's a myriad of things, five core things. So many companies are deploying it gradually. MFA is easy sometimes, but deploying segmentation in a hybrid environment, even as your asset profile changes over time, you're bringing new workloads into the enterprise, for example, AI tools now, and how do you begin to, embed zero trust into those devices while you're also rolling out zero trust in other types of workloads. So anyway, hopefully that's a long-winded response to your question. So to answer your question, about 10 to 20%. Many still looking at them also from a long range, long-term perspective. Does that help?
Right. So, one other question related to this, you mentioned that this prevents lateral attacks. Like literally, an attacker cannot really expand the network, but that relies on a couple of things, like the abnormality detection within the network, or some kind of a network intrusion, detection would have to be applied to detect that, A, this is a compromised resource in the first place, and what, first of all, what kind of technology are used for that segment? Maybe just define that it is a compromised resource, and then how is segmentation even being achieved here?
Just to be sure I fully understood your question. Are you asking how segmentation achieved in an environment that Sorry.
Well, the
Yeah,
question is, I think the advantage of zero trust was that an lateral attack cannot happen, right? Because of
yeah,
segmentation, right?
yeah,
Basically, that never boils down to. But even before you segment something, you detect that the machine is compromised, right? First of all, it is the detection of the compromise, and then the segmentation, right? And so, are there some known tools, or like what is the strategy? It just relies on the network intrusion detection, abnormality in the network. How does it, like, because you're combining two ideas here. One is detecting the abnormality in the network and then identifying the compromised resource and then further segmenting it, right? So could you just expand on that a bit?
yeah. So naturally, zero trust historically has worked well, and more so natively in the cloud. So for many organizations that actually deploy zero trust, it's mostly a case where they've taken this whole cloud first strategy. So when it comes to deploying endpoint protection, you get that natively. You're able to pull in all the necessary insight from a device posture perspective. So all the devices automatically. So when you think about Azure, you naturally, natively, it gets all that, telemetry observability from Defender for Cloud. And that works, seamlessly, right? Even with all the segmentation that you will have to deploy for many of those devices. So, but when you begin to think of on-prem, it can get really challenging depending on the type of logs you really get and depending on the constraints that you face from the segmentation. So, in terms of tools, I mean, I'll speak also from my own expertise. I tend to use more so CloudStrike, Defender for Cloud, and Darktrace. Those are some of the tools that we use. In fact, with some of the tools still gets challenging where we still lose visibility and had to really rely more so on network visibility as opposed to device visibility. So again, with technology, nothing is really perfect. You pick and choose your battles. And that's where, strategy really comes into play, right? You want us to kind of look at this more so thoughtfully in terms of trying to understand what it is you're trying to solve for and whether you're solving for it enough for you to give you some comfort on your risk exposure. You can't deploy everything perfectly. Zero trust is not something that is like you get zero trust. It's long term, right? And as long as you're taking, steps towards that, you're achieving success, right? Hopefully that makes sense. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
sorry, one more, an extension of that. Have you, in your experience, seen somebody saying just SE the next security enhanced to achieve the zero trust in both aspects, like the detection that a machine is compromised, and second, the segmentation.
So you may have to speak louder. I'm sorry, I didn't catch everything you said.
Well, I'm just saying, okay, so maybe, okay, what I'm trying to ask is, in your experience, have you seen SE, SE the next being used to achieve a zero trust architecture in the aspects of detection of a compromised machine, and second, the segmentation?
Uh, SC, do you say SC? XC, is that the name of a tool, or I'm not sure what context you're referring to
S
XC?
SE, security enhanced Linux. SE Linux.
Gotcha. Not had that experience. But if you, I mean, happy to connect with you offline on more specific cases like that. I mean, to address any concerns you have. But to your this is your last question. Not had any experience with that.
Okay.
Cool. All right. And again, so just moving along here in the interest of time. We created this for anyone looking to explore Computer Security Plus as an option with something we train on. But we also offer this application that you can train with. We call it the Computer Cyber Jedi, right? So if there's something you're interested in, it's going to create all sorts of question jungle, right? But it depends on what field you want to specialize in. So your starting point is really, okay, what do I really want to do, right? Do I want to go more technical? Do I want to go non-technical? Do I want something in the middle, right? Do I want something that is industry recognized and respected? And why am I in fact pursuing this certification? Is it for a job or for, in fact, I just want to sharpen my skill set, right? So one has to kind of really ground your approach based on those questions. Then now, if it's a case where, you know what, I'm trying to break into the field, I need to improve my technical chops and learn some few new things and concepts. You start with the CompTIA Security Plus. Everyone recommends it. It's foundational. It's good. I've taken the exam. It's great. It helps you sharpen your skill set. That's why we offer it, and as a class we teach here. But there are other options as well, right? So if you want something more core related to programming, there are other specialized certifications as well on here. As you move up the ladder, as you improve your expertise, then you can begin to concentrate, for example, CISSP, or if you're sort that, you know what, you're already, for example, in the cloud, right? You're playing with Azure. Azure actually has some specialized security certifications as well. I think it's Azure Security Expert, I think. And Amazon also has their own specialized security certifications as well. So we gives you more hands-on knowledge of a cloud service provider's security approach native to their own services and platform. So again, it's all about asking the right questions here. Why am I pursuing this degree? Am I trying to break into the industry? Obviously, okay, if I'm going to break into industry, yes, we got to feed the bear. HR will want you to have some basic cybersecurity certification. Which one is more recognized, right? Computer Security Plus, CISSP. You also have CISR if you're going on the risk route, C-risk. So what I can do for you here is I can drop this. For at least for those who attended, I can send the presentation to you all, and drop this in that presentation so that you can use this to kind of navigate your path. And the government also does a pretty good job. They have this thing called the workforce framework for cybersecurity. For anyone that still has questions, okay, you know what? I'm not quite sure what I want to do. I'm dropping that in the chat. You can use this to kind of navigate your path as well, right? In addition to what I've shared with you. Hopefully that helps. So I see Frank
Yes,
here.
yes.
Sorry?
Yes, it does help. It's very
Yeah,
clear. Thank you.
cool. Um, yeah, so if you have software engineering experience, true, Frank, I do agree with you. AppSec. And in fact, if you have engineering experience, yeah, AppSec is great. Cloud security is great. DevSecOps is great. Those are really interesting fields. AI security is great for you, really. That's booming here right now. So, software engineering, you got some AI skills, some coding skills, and application security skills. I mean, I think you do well for yourself, right? Yeah, Frank, good recommendation there for I think Udena. All right.
Last thing, there was a link that was shared that was a cyber tutor link on cybersecurity learning. Is that a separate thing from what you're offering as a paid uh, help, or is it the same? Is the link to the same thing? Is it like a paid service or not?
Which one is that? Sorry, the link I just shared.
No, the one that was a on Versal app. It's a Versal app
Yes,
link.
it's a versatile app. Yes, yes. So it's actually free. Actually, it's free. It's
Okay.
free. What I mean, it's kind of designed by RaaS and configured by RaaS. It's free. We just use it to kind of coach students as well. Again, we're offering it to just as a contribution to community here, right? For those looking to explore this as a field, right? Now, if you want the training, yes, you can join us with the training. But this is some things, this is some of the few things we go through as part of the training collectively as a within the classroom, right?
I see. Okay, so so this is it fair to say this is a kind of like a sample exam, or the question style, question answer style, or is it like a
Yeah, so this is trained on
answer?
this is trained on CompTIA material, right?
Okay,
Yeah, and some available material from the internet, right? So you get I mean, you got to play with prompts, right? But you get unique
right.
questions based on your degree of difficulty, right? So someone like you, it sense that you're quite experienced in technology, right? So maybe you want to, and if Computer Security Plus is one thing you want to explore, yeah, you go with the hard questions, right?
Right.
And use that to kind of really train. And again, I use it to kind of refresh my knowledge on this concepts every now and then, right? So every now and then, everyone needs a refresher on some
Yeah,
of the concepts, and this really helps quite a bit.
it does. Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for putting it up. Yeah, it's nice.
yeah. All right, just going through some other questions. I think this is AxxessPros. Yeah, thank you for showing our website there. Um, yeah, no, good feedback, good interaction online here. I see in the chat. Thank you all for helping out. Frank, thanks for sharing insight there. Oh, a lot of great insights as well. It's hard to really follow the chat while sharing. Yeah, so good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of useful insight here. What I'm gonna do is for all the participants, I'm gonna share the recording. Great conversation here this evening. I've shared some links as well. You can check out the blog as well. You can check out the Vercel app on the Computer Security Plus. What else did I share? And again, before I forget, if you got value out of this presentation, please spend some time, it's just a minute, go give us a good feedback on Meetup. It always helps. It doesn't help with algorithms, but it gives some degree of validity to this community as well. So appreciate if you could do that. Please do that. Um, and Kieran, I say for technical project manager, what's your recommendation switch to cybersecurity projects? That should be easy. I think for that one, I will suggest you go do Computer Security Plus, just to get yourself out there to sharpen your skills on cybersecurity, right? I mean, cybersecurity project manager, technical project manager, there's a lot of transfer of skill set there. So what you need to do is just sharpen some of your technical skills, right? So go do some Computer Security Plus, and I think you will be game, really. Um, Hopefully that helps.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah. All right, cool. I think we've covered. Thank you guys for helping out for questions I couldn't cover myself. You guys have been great. Thank you for joining us this evening. Appreciate it. And yeah, if there's anything else,
The future, break the mold. Write your story, brave and bold. In the code, your dreams align. Cyber stars, it's your time to shine. AxxessPros will guide your way through the firewalls, through the fray. From the shadows, rise and fight. Guard the world, day and night. Hack the future, break the mold. Write your story, brave and bold. In the code, your dreams align. Cyber stars, it's your time to shine. Hack the future, break the mold. Write your story, brave and bold. In the code, your dreams align. Cyber stars, it's your time to shine. It's your time to shine. The keys you hold, unlock the path. The truth unfolds from the digital realm. It calls your name. In this world, you'll stake your claim. Hack the future, break the mold. Write your story, brave and bold. In the code, your dreams align. Cyber stars, it's your time to shine. The keys you hold, they're made of gold. Unlock the path, the truth unfolds. The digital realm, it calls your name. In this world, you'll stake your claim. Hack the future, break the mold. Write your story, brave and bold. In the code, your dreams align. Cyber stars, it's your time to shine.